Hi, this is Midas Marnie, and today I have Christian Hansen of CrowdCurity here with us because last time I spoke about Bitcoin wallet security, and I made a couple of recommendations, and the reason that I had the idea was actually from a video that these guys did about the three greatest security threats for a Bitcoin website. And it was really interesting, and so I thought of it from my point of view, what could you as a consumer or user of Bitcoin do to also mitigate some of these security threats? So I wanted to dive into it a little bit further today, maybe go a little bit more technical, and first of all, let's get started with Christian and ask him, as we always do, how did you first hear about Bitcoin?
I first heard about Bitcoin in early 2011. I it was my brother that mentioned it to me, my brother Jacob, and we had just moved to London, and we started watching these funny videos on YouTube about people explaining what Bitcoin was, and we went to Mount Gox and looked what was this, and just tried to understand this whole concept about cryptocurrencies. Yeah, so that was back in 2011, and back then we first looked at it, it was about $5 or $6 per Bitcoin, which sounded like a lot at that time. So about 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, that's great. And what excited you about that? Now, one aside there, the accent I'm hearing is not from London. You say you were in London there. Are you guys from Denmark?
Yes, we are from Denmark. So yeah, I'm Danish. Of course, my brother's Danish as well. About that early 2011. That was when we quit our job and moved to London, and we lived together for a while there. And yeah, so we are originally from Denmark, and first heard about Bitcoin while we were living in London.
Oh, that's great.
And then eventually we decided both to just invest a little bit of money in Bitcoin. Just enough that we could spare to lose it should it go south, and then we bought our first Bitcoin from Mt. Gox back in 2011, just a few weeks before the first initial crash.
So did you get caught in that whole Mt. Gox fiasco, or were you able to pull out before that whole thing kind of went up in flames?
So I've been caught in Mt. Gox fiasco quite a few times. The first time was in 2011 when it rose from 6-7 to like 30-something dollars in a few weeks, and we thought, well, what's going on here? And then it got hacked, and so the price went to almost zero within like an hour or so. But then so I just left my Bitcoin there and didn't think more of it. And then within a few years, the price came back up, and then we had the peak in early 2013 on the spring, and then another DDoS attack on Mt. Gox, and then the price went down from 250 to 80 or so within a few hours. But they survived, and then eventually I decided to move. I still had a lot of them in Mt. Gox, a lot of Bitcoin. I decided to spread them out on different exchanges. But eventually, when in early February, when I decided now I actually wanted to move the last bits of Bitcoin out of Mt. Gox. So that was February this year. I wanted to move the last Bitcoin I had away from Mt. Gox, but then I came in there, and then they had this little notice about, hey, this is the Japanese holiday. Sorry, you cannot take them out. And then I waited a week, and then the excuse was something else, and eventually, my Bitcoin got stuck, or the last ones I wanted to move out. So
yeah. So that's a good thing for us to kind of bring up this whole idea of security. As long as somebody else has your private keys, then they essentially have your money. Yes.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. So I think so. I mean, of course. Yeah, that's totally true. But initially, I hadn't really understood this concept about public and private keys, and I trusted the web service to be secure, and if I have a login and a long password and two-factor authentication, then I trusted the exchange or the service. Yeah, but it is of course a huge risk. But on the other hand, it's also to some extent convenience. If I had to flip out my private key every time I had to buy for a little bit of money, then it would be very inconvenient. So it's kind of constantly leveraging like what's the convenience and what's the security.
Exactly. And you know, you think of, you know, having your money at a bank, right? Versus having the money under your bed. So if I had the money in a can stuck underneath my bed or something, it's going to be very difficult to move that money around. You know, going to have to go home, get the right amount of money, go to wherever I want, and of course, electronic transactions, forget it. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's what we did back in, you know, the old days. We said, okay, I want you to take care of my money. It's still my money, but I want you to take care of it. I'm trusting you to have that. And so there's like two factions of, do I trust somebody with my keys, or do I have control of my keys directly? And so I know that you guys are doing a lot with security. So tell us a little bit about, what is CrowdCurity? What do you guys do? How can you help the companies of Bitcoin or the people of Bitcoin? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so what CrowdCurity does, we are essentially connecting Bitcoin businesses or online businesses with security researchers. So all of our clients are essentially having security, you know, constant security tests of their web application by our security researchers. And instead of having the traditional model of you have security consultants trying to penetrate your website and make a long report or a checklist, we set up the incentive using bounties. So security researchers are incentivized to find vulnerabilities and report them to our clients. So it could be a Bitcoin exchange, Bitcoin wallet, or any other web application that actually thinks about security. And they would then take the report and patch the security hole before some evil hacker finds it. But the way it's structured with these bug bounty program, as they're called, is that we incentivize our security researchers the same way as these evil black hat hackers are incentivized, because the evil hackers, they only get a reward or a prize if they can actually hack in. It's not, you know, however many hours they spend on the platform. It's only if they can get in and, you know, get to the private keys or steal some sensitive information. And in the same way, our researchers, they only get a payout once they can prove this is a security hole that needs to be fixed. So all of a sudden you have this army of, because we crowdsourced our security researchers, you have this army on your side to protect yourself against, you know, who knows who out there on the web.
Well, that's good. It could give a new lease on life to bad hackers who suddenly decide, oh, I want to be a good hacker now, and this is.
Yeah, that's also a very good example, because maybe some of these hackers, they, you know, until recently, they might only have been able to go, you know, the black market to sell their information about an exploit, and now they can actually go with the good guys and make money from their skills. And
well, I'm going to champion that. I think that's a great idea. So when I hear about some of these bigger companies or bigger names in the Bitcoin arena, when they say they have a bounty, a bug bounty, are they probably using your service, or are there other services like yours?
They're most likely using our services. I think we have 60 plus Bitcoin businesses, so including blockchain, OKCoin, Circle, and a long range of smaller exchanges, so JustCoin, Vault of Satoshi from Canada. So most likely they're using our service, but there are also other providers of bug bounty programs, and some of the companies, the big ones, they just run the bug bounty program themselves. But it's just like where you want to focus what you're good at, and we're good at running security and bug bounty programs, and Bitcoin exchanges are good at, hopefully, at you know, trading currencies and keeping their website secure and their customers happy. And they shouldn't, in my opinion, spend too much time on optimizing bug bounty programs and, you know, doing KYC and researches and all that stuff.
So they focus, well, yeah, that's a great idea. Focus on what you're good at, right? And then hire a professional to do what you're not good at and they're really good at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so essentially we our attackers have found, or our researchers have found a lot of security holes and made a lot of these exchanges out there more secure. And honestly, I must say that when I see new upcoming exchanges or wallet out there, if I don't see that they are running a bug bounty program, so they actually are saying, hey, we think we're so secure that we will put out bounties if we can find stuff. If I don't see they're publishing that, then I'm very hesitant at actually putting my Bitcoin there, because if they can't spend that little bit of time or a little bit of money on that type of security, then I'm not sure how well the security is. So for us, it's also like a validation of the security. You see Google or Facebook, they're raising their rewards very high. So I think Google's max reward is $20,000 for a breach in Gmail, or Facebook have paid $50,000 and $100,000 for very big breaches. And this proves that they have very high security, and they are very strong belief in that security is important for them. So they will put up big bounties. Of course, they also have more money, but
exactly. But no, that's good. It's good to know. And so, it's funny. I was talking to Catherine Nicholson the other day, and so her, customers are the developers. And so this would be similar to you. Your customers would be anybody who has, or is it just exchanges, or anybody who has? Tell me exactly who your customers are, so that in watching this video they can kind of self-identify and contact you if they need your help.
Yes, so our customers are the people with a web application or website, and typically they need to have some kind of login or authenticated part or something they wanna protect. So just having a website static with a bit of info is maybe not so important for security. But basically any web application, and we and Bitcoin is just a no-brainer, because the price of Bitcoin exchanges, well, it could, the thing is that however you want to deal with your Bitcoin and sell it to clients, or sorry, customers out there, somehow your customers has to use your application, and typically that happens through a browser. So we can talk a lot about infrastructure and private keys and all this and vaults, but at one point this interaction has to go through the browser, because the end user has to somehow interact with it. And this is where all of the innovation and is moving faster, and therefore you see a lot of vulnerabilities. And this is where we're trying to help our clients, is like in the web application, in the browser, where the end user is very vulnerable and typically makes mistakes because they're not as educated in security.
Especially the man-in-the-middle type attacks. And like one of the things you guys were going over the other day was the HTTP headers attack. And so I myself, I use something called 1Password, and then I know a lot of other people use LastPass. And the cool thing about that, from a consumer standpoint accessing a website, or from a user standpoint accessing a website, it's kind of like a second level that if you go and, let's say you log into blockchain or Coinbase or something, and you click on your 1Password or LastPass, and it doesn't have the password for this site that says it's blockchain or Coinbase, then right at that very moment in time, this isn't actually the real site. So there's things that consumers can do as well, or users can do as well, to help protect themselves. What are some of the things that you say that like the end users could do besides what I've maybe there's something more?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very, very good point you just put out there, that just the fact that you're using these password managers helps you not to miss like a mistyped or a hacker site, because it won't miss like a wrong spelling. So you can protect yourself, and it's easier to. My first recommendation is always use these password managers, because it's actually just easier than trying to remember just like 3 passwords. Plus, you can have unique passwords and strong passwords on any site. So that's always my first recommendation. Secondarily, use the 2-factor authentication, which most again, exchanges, wallets, or just email web apps used today.
And
Again,
what about like the difference between SMS versus something like Google Authenticator or Authy? What would be your recommendation there if they had the choice of using one or the other? What should they use?
Well, I would definitely use Authy or Google Authenticator. They're very equal, and you get the one-time password instantly. You have them all together. You don't have to browse through your SMS, and so that's just from a usability point of view. Plus, you have the master key to Authy at least backed up.
Which you don't have with the Google Authenticator, right?
Exactly. So that can be a little bit tedious. I mean, the security I would say is the same, but if you switch your phone, you might have to reinstall everything. So there's Authy a little bit easier, but it's just down to the margins. But I would say with this SMS, still it's secure. But I've heard about attacks where attackers, they know that let's say, Marnie, you get your one-time password as a text, and I know that through other ways, then I can actually somehow block your cell phone by DDoSing essentially your cell phone, so that the one-time password, if it's through a call, which can happen also, it goes to the voicemail, which I can intercept in some ways. So it's not a straightforward attack, but because the carriers don't have often good security, it's actually possible.
I saw that happening when blockchain.info got attacked. The authorizations, the two-factor authentications got attacked. What was it, 2 or 3 months ago? And I know my friends over there at FreeAid, I saw the attack going, right? And so during the middle of the attack, it was kind of incentivizing you to try to log in, right? So and then it was at that point that they were getting the two-factor authentication. So I'm like, I was looking at it, I'm like, I'm not gonna log in until this is over.
Yeah.
Some of the people did, and boom, just like clockwork, gone.
Yeah. You're right. So just to round up, what can normal human beings do without suffering too much inconvenience? I would say, as you say, password managers, use two-factor authentication, and just be skeptic whenever you go to different services. And then I would split up. Don't have everything in one basket. So don't have all your Bitcoin in one exchange or one account. You can do what if you're talking about just your own personal Bitcoin, do what the exchanges have most in cold storage. If you have a safe place where you won't lose your hard disk or whatever. And then you can have 5 or 10% that you can use from day to day, or in some semi-secure apps, so you have small amounts at a convenience, and then have
like your bank accounts. You don't have, well, I don't anyways. I don't have all my money in one bank account, right?
Mm.
And so you want to have like a spending account, and kind of like that's your day-to-day, like what do they call it?
Checking or
what? No, there's a term. Oh, it'll come back to me later.
No, but you're right that we can say a lot about the old banks, but we can also learn a lot from how to do security to like help the end user. So like limit the scope. Should you lose your credit card, you don't lose all your money. You can lose just a little bit, but it's very convenient, and so you have like different security levels with bigger baskets of money.
Exactly. Exactly. So you've got your non-essential spending money in a different account from your primary account. Then you have your working account, which is like your monthly working account, where you keep all of your rent and all of that stuff, the expenses that go on, on a day-to-day basis. And businesses have this too. They have a working account, petty cash account, right?
Yeah.
Of course, you have a savings, and you may have multiple savings accounts. So it's the same applies with Bitcoin, in that the wallets, rather than be calling accounts, we want to handle the wallets the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And also now that it's becoming easier and easier to use Bitcoin on your smartphone, but how much can we trust the apps, and how do they have a backdoor, and and the developer can't really prove that they didn't put in a backdoor, especially not on iOS devices or iPhones. But well, if I just put on 100, the equivalent of $100 at a time on my phone, how bad can it be? So But the thing is, right now we have to do a lot of this manual because we don't have all the services yet, and hopefully they will come soon. But so,
Well,
it's just like the early days.
companies like you are there for, and companies like my friend at BlockCypher, and all of these developers. We're in that infrastructure building stage of Bitcoin right now. We kind of went through, and I call Mount Gox a prototype. It was a
Mhm.
prototype exchange, right? It was just kind of like, more like the Wild West, where like, yeehaw, let's go and build this thing, right?
Yeah,
Without
but they're the guys on the, you can see them all. Don't be in the next Mount Gox or the next Poloniacs or the next whatever. Um, and BlockCypher, yeah, they're a good example. So they're essentially an easier API into the blockchain, and so it's just like one of these levels that we need for developers to make it easier for them to make the app, so they don't have like full stack. And it's the same we have today with modern development, that we have specialized developers, and that we need that in order to make the nice applications. Um,
Absolutely, and the better that we can make all of these infrastructure things, the easier it's going to be on the UI guys to make something that really works nicely for the end users without them having to understand the complexities of what's in the background. And here's the thing that I get, being in technology, is that people don't even have any clue, and this is something that really kind of bothered me when I first went into Bitcoin, because I set up servers and everything, and I know all about DNS and TCP/IP and all of the protocols, SMTP, POP. The end user doesn't know need to know or care how any of that works. And so I see so many people in Bitcoin talking about technically how it works, and I'm just like, shut the hell up.
yeah, yeah,
Because the end users don't need to know. They just need to know the damn thing works and it's secure, right?
yeah, yeah,
And seriously, if you look at all the protocols behind the internet, there's thousands of protocols.
yeah.
Not thousands, but there's a
A
lot.
lot.
And like DNS is just. Seriously, I've had so much problems with that setting up servers when I used to set up OS 10 servers.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Uh,
you're right. I mean, but we still have to have the specialist in DNS and TCP/IP,
exactly, and that's why
and
I hand it off to those guys. I'm like, you deal with that. I'm not touching it.
yeah, but these guys that are like super brilliant and building these backbones or building on the blockchain, they're very good at that, our cryptography, but they might not be the good guys that can make the guys that makes the nice web application for the end user.
It's the same like building a website, right? You've got your coder who codes. They don't know anything about design and graphic design and what works well for the user and how many clicks should it take to get me there. They're actually all different pieces of the puzzle, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, and so now one thing that I really appreciate about talking about you today, I would say that another thing to help end users consider is, does the exchange that they're working with have a bug bounty program? Like you said, I think that that's something that is, from a consumer standpoint, we could say, oh, hey, do these guys have that? And if not, well,
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's so many other exchanges out there that does have the bug bounty program. So yeah, definitely. Plus, so that would be one of the things, and then now it's coming up, this thing where the bigger exchanges, they want to prove, they have this proof of reserve thing. And until now, it's been mostly doing audits, but it seems like now they're building technologies to actually show the proof of reserve.
yeah, I'm excited about that.
But of course, the user, the end user doesn't have to understand like cryptographic Merkle tree or anything like that. They just need to know that there's a stamp from an algorithm that run through, and it actually shows they have the reserve, or there's a stamp from CrowdCurity that shows that, well, the web app is also secure. So yeah, and so the exchanges or wallets of Bitcoin servers, they have to be transparent about how honest they are, how good they are about security. And it's getting there, definitely. And from what we see in the companies we get on board, or the exchange we're going to board, they're more secure today just than since
Oh, sure.
6 months ago. I mean, they're really taking up the security, so that's really a good sign. But you know, a web application is like a living organism. It keeps changing, and the developers keep pushing the code.
Technology
So
always like that.
vulnerabilities will always appear if you don't like have a persistent check of your security.
Absolutely. You can't build one thing today and think that even 6 months from now it's still going to be a good thing without constantly watching it, especially in the tech space. Because, you know, and that goes for anything in tech. It's moving so quickly. So unless you really have the resources in-house, you know, another reason to go outsource some of this stuff, right? So that you can make sure that they've got another set of eyeballs watching what's going on. So
you really need that, because otherwise if they have to check the code super, you know, do tons of code reviews and scanners. You know, it's the cycle of innovation just be too slow. So in order to somehow, you know, catch up with regular consumer web applications that have less security and they can just push code as they please, we need some way of, you know, constantly checking the security. And in that sense, we believe that bug bounty programs are a very good approach, and, you know, keeping an eye on all that.
I think that's a great idea. Well, I really, really appreciate you coming on the show today and,
That's been great.
you know, kind of backing up some of the stuff that I've said and giving us some more information about what we can do from a user standpoint to protect ourselves. And I wish you guys all the best and keep cracking at it.
Well, thanks a lot, Marty, and thanks for having me on the show. And if anyone have any questions about bounty programs or web application in particular, just shoot me an email. I'm Christian@CrowdCurity.com. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Comments down below in the video on YouTube as well, and
yeah,
I'll send a link to Christian to be able to talk back to you as well.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for being on the show today, and thank you out there for watching the show. Don't forget to donate to the show to keep it going. And also, if you enjoy our show and you don't want to donate, it would be super awesome if you would go to MidasMarty.com and click on the little reviews there and leave a site review and tell us what you like about what we're doing. That would be super awesome. Talk to you later. Bye.